Live, folks.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is September the 29th, 2020. We have a busy day today. We have a number of items that we're going to be covering today, as well as a robust package of reports. We have heritage hearings, which we will hear at 10 o'clock, or very shortly after 10. We do have to do the Design Review Committee appeal hearing at 1 o'clock. So, and we also have public hearings at 6 o'clock, and we have lots of other stuff to manage as well. So just for the benefit of those watching at home, that's our schedule. We will be following the specific start timeline. So even if the heritage hearing goes past noon, we come back with DRC at 1 o'clock. That's correct, Phoebe or John?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So good morning, everybody. This is an auspicious moment for us. It's certainly one for me because some of the faces on this screen will not be back at another meeting. Maybe tomorrow, but that'll be a continuation of this meeting. So shortly, we're going to give each of the councillors who will not be back, who have decided to go on to other things, we're going to give each of them an opportunity to say a few words to council and to their population. First of all, I want to just see which councillors we have with us so people can get a sense of their councillor. And I will begin, as always, with the inimitable Councillor Stretch.
Well, good morning, inimitable. That's a great word. That's the word of the day, Your Worship. Colleagues, good to see you all, albeit virtually. Yes, I echo your words. It's a special day, and I look forward to hearing from several of our colleagues that have chosen not to continue. Your Worship, it's been a great honor to serve with all of them, and it's a wonderful opportunity again to be here representing District 1, Waverley, Fall River, Musquodoboit Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David Hensley.
Good morning, all, and I echo the same words of Councillor Stretch. It's been an honor to serve and to work with my colleagues that are now retiring, to Bill, Laura Lee, to Russell, and to Steve, and to Matt. It's been an exceptional experience for me to be working with you, and I'm sure we'll always be seeing each other at community functions and events in the future. So all the best to you.
Thank you. Councillor Karsten.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is just a sound and video check, so I trust everything's in order, and thank you for the opportunity to speak again in a few minutes. Thank you.
We'll get back to you. As well, Councillor Nicol.
Good morning, everyone from District 4. I'm pleased to be here. It's with mixed feelings, but still the same. Look forward to speaking to you and hoping not to get sappy.
Thank you. Councillor Austin, are you with us now?
I am, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And for Councillor Nicol, a little bit of sappy at the end of 12 years, I think is quite okay. Best wishes to all my colleagues who are retiring, particularly Councillor Karsten and Councillor Nicol, who I've had the pleasure of serving with on the Dartmouth side.
Councillor Mancini.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and colleagues. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that we've lost an amazing man in Dartmouth, Rod Dixon. Rod Dixon was the general manager at the Sportsplex for a number of years, and but he's also a longtime kinsman. And even recently, he and his wife Pat were out helping deliver food bundles out of the program we're running out of East Dartmouth Community Center. So to his wife Pat and his two daughters. Rob was an amazing guy and always thought about others first. So you'll be missed, Rob. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Indeed. Councillor Mason.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and councillors from beautiful Halifax, South Downtown District 7, and Councillor Nicol and all the councillors who will be leaving. I too will be being sappy. We'll miss you, and thank you so much for having been here and showing me the ropes the last 8 years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Smith.
Hello, I think I'm here. Am I here? All right, I am here. I was having computer issues. Good morning, everybody. I'm not sure who Wei was talking to. All I heard was sorry that you'll be gone. So I'll say the same and hope that it's nothing too crazy. Lindell Smith, District 8, beautiful cloudy day. Thankful to be here. Also, big shout out to all the vendors and businesses who participated in the Taking Black Goddess Street. It was a great Saturday. Lots of purchases being made, and a special shout out to my daughter who pretty much sold out all her products, and very, very, very proud dad.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, that was a great event, Taking Black Goddess, and yeah, to Taya, well done. She did well, eh? Awesome. Councillor Cleary.
Hello, everyone. Welcome from District 9. I'd take you all for a swim at Williams Lake, but I think we're going to have to turn our Shaw Wilderness Park into a spa, so we can all go for a mud bath. But I just want to say a little bit thanks to all my colleagues who are retiring, but thanks to all my colleagues. You have been tremendous mentors and teachers to me over these last 4 years, and I appreciate that. I just want to mention that today is actually the day when the European Commission signed the convention that started CERN, Center for Nuclear Research. And if you remember, it was actually Tim Berners-Lee who worked at CERN, who created the World Wide Web. So we would not be here today if it wasn't for CERN and Tim Berners-Lee. So thanks to them, and thanks to you, my colleagues, for being such great mentors and teachers.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. All is fine here in District 10.
Always a man of few words. Much appreciated and will be much missed. Councillor Adams.
I think Russell's middle name is Reader's Digest. Thank you, Your Worship and colleagues. I too, this is bittersweet. I'm still getting used to this. It's been a long time, but there's one phrase I can't get used to, and people ask me, how much time do you have left? I have to say, like, Ed on council after that just makes everyone feel better, but I will miss you, and I sincerely mean that. Thank you.
Indeed. Councillor Zarowski.
Wow, this is, it's bittersweet. All things change. I view this as one of the great highlights to have worked with all councillors and the mayor and staff. And anybody who says that councillors don't work hard certainly is not looking at the councillors that have represented their communities and that are leaving. This has been my privilege to work with you, and I know that you're community minded, and I am so sorry to see you go. I feel there's so much wealth of information that you can still give to us, and all of you have helped me along in this last 4 years and have been terrific mentors, and for all the other councillors as well, but especially for those councillors leaving. It is bittersweet to say goodbye. I hope we cross paths many times, and this has been one of the greatest experiences I have had as a neophyte councillor to work with you. So thank you all, and all the best.
Thank you. Councillor Whitman.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, council colleagues, especially my retiring colleagues, and especially to my friend Steve Adams. I'd like to also say good morning to residents of District 13, Hammonds Plains, St. Margaret's Bay, and thank them for 8 wonderful years. It's been an honor to serve them. And thanks to all residents across HRM, especially friends in Dartmouth this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor Blackburn. Deputy Mayor?
Did she run out of posting?
Sorry about that. There we go. Good morning from beautiful downtown Beaverbank. Just wanted to say a big thank you to our retiring colleagues. Thank you so much for teaching me what you could over the years, and I appreciate your patience and kindness, and wish you all the best in this next chapter of your life.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Thank you very much. And as the new kid on the block, I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody, the mayor, councilor, staff, residents, everybody, for welcoming me and helping me in this position in the first year. To the councilors who are leaving, thank you. It has been wonderful to get to know you, even though it's been a very short while. I'm going to switch topics. I'm here in Lower Sackville, wonderful Lower Sackville, where we have a number of good things happening, and we are still afflicted by COVID. So last night I was at the Lions Hall celebrating the 50th charter anniversary of the Sackville Lions. This was originally supposed to happen back in April 10th. And I was presenting a certificate to them on behalf of the mayor and council and myself. And it was a really good evening. They have 3 charter members who were still there. One of them was in attendance last night, and it was fantastic. I also wanted to draw attention to a Read to Me program that will be in the Sackville Library this Friday. Read to Me, they will be giving out Read to Me bags to families that missed receiving their free bag of baby books during the shutdown. Feel free to share the latest Facebook post on their page, which is simply facebook.com/readtome.ns. With that, thank you very much, and look forward to a wonderful 24 hours of meeting in the next 48 hours.
Thank you. Councillor Outett.
Well, good morning from Bedford Wentworth, and I am a little sad today. There's some folks here that have been a great help and guidance to me over the years, and the more of these folks that retire, the older I start to feel too, which isn't particularly appreciated. But and you know, when I first joined this council back 12 years ago, I remember Steve Adams saying something to me. And of course, Russell I knew because he taught me even back in the day back at Industrial Arts back at Clayton Park Junior High, and he had a full head of dark hair, and mine was a little darker too. But and I remember Steve saying to me, you know, we're going to have disagreements in this chamber, and we're going to things, but it never left the chamber. It never went up to the lunchroom. It never went in the hallways. It never went to the offices, and it never interfered with our personal relationship, even if we didn't agree on something. So I tried to follow that example of Steve. So Steve and of course Laura Lee, your passion for transportation and economic development. I've enjoyed eyeline with you on those, and of course Bill, your guidance on so many things, including the odd time on procedure and governance, and of course your work at FCM. But you really have all served yourselves, your residents, and us well, and I am going to miss you, and on a personal level as well as on a professional level. So all best wishes to all of you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, we'll come back to that in just a second, folks. There is no minutes to approve, but we are going to look at the order of business first. Does somebody want to move the order of business?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, it's Lisa.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Just wondering if we could have the diversity and inclusion report brought forward for a presentation to the next council.
Can do.
Thank you.
Does
If
somebody want to
nothing
move
else, I'll move the approval of the order of business.
Thank you.
And I'd like to take 11.1.1 off of the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll just do that in a second. Does somebody want to second the order of business?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Councillor Karst. Anything else on the order of business? All in favor of the order of business?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So
Aye.
that's carried. Phoebe, did you want to say anything on this?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I mean, you said it off the top of the meeting, but just to reiterate for anyone who's just tuning in, we will be holding the heritage hearings shortly. And then at 1 o'clock, we will begin the appeal of the Design Review Committee decision. And then at 6 o'clock, we will be beginning the public hearings.
Okay. Thank you. We've moved and had that voted upon. The consent agenda 11.1.1 is taken off and put on the regular agenda. I'll ask for calls for declaration of conflict of interest. Okay, here's where we do the give the opportunity to departing councillors. We're all aware that the election is on October 17th. With the possible exception of Councillor Outfit, it may have slipped his mind, but all the rest of us are very aware of that. And so at least 4 councillors will not be back with us and have indicated that they are, after significant periods of time, decided to leave council. And so we give them an opportunity now to just say a couple of words to us and to their colleagues. The only thing I'll say is that at the debate that we had a couple of weeks ago, I opened up by thanking these colleagues and that mentioned that all of them I consider to be mentors to me and have been great support to me, and I know to other councillors. And as people are running for office this time, they would do well to recognize the contributions of people who've been here for a while, and particularly in my experience, have worked very well together in spite of not agreeing on anything. Agreeing is easy, disagreeing is what really matters. That's what politics is meant to deal with. And so these 4 have all done that with, I think, great class. And, I look forward to hearing them. So the first one we have is via video, and it is Councillor Steve Adams. And so we'll let the video roll. Steve, are we good with that?
Yeah, I'm not really here, so yeah, we'll go by video conference. I'm doing this from an unknown bunker.
All right.
Years as an elected official is a long time. Here's a bit of perspective. During my time on council, I've served with 4 mayors, 8 city managers as CAOs, 7 premiers, 7 MPs, and 9 MLAs. For perspective, I spent half my life on council. I remember when I first decided to run. That was back in 1980 when I was going into Dow with my dad, and there was an election at that time. A number of signs on Quimpo Road, and I said to myself, someday my name's going to be on one of those signs. And not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. You always have to wait for some kind of sign to let you know it's time. And in April of 1991, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and he says, we've been talking, I think you should run for alderman. And back then it was alderman as opposed to council. That was my sign. I put my name forward mostly because of the way Spryfield was treated in the media and the negative public perception, which was unfair and quite often biased about our community. And I wanted to make our community better. I wanted to help have better ball fields, better playgrounds, better recreation, and other things that I didn't know what at the time, but I knew I wanted my community to be better. With the help of a lot of dedicated people and determination bordering on stubbornness, we've succeeded. Being given the opportunity to represent my communities has been a distinct honor. I had the pleasure to meet some wonderful and also very intriguing individuals. The people, challenges, and other successes ensure no day was ever the same. I've done and seen things most can only dream about, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I have absolutely no regrets, and I'm very proud of my record. To my colleagues on council, thank you for your support over the past 4 years, and for others, more than 4 years. And thank you for working endless hours, and in many cases, without thanks or recognition. I wish you all the best of success in the weeks leading up to October 17th, and of course on Election Day. To Russell, Bell, and Laura Lee, congratulations on your pending retirement. You are all very special. Mr. Dubé and senior staff, I dare say these next years will be your most challenging ever. I am confident that you will face this head on and help lead HRM through the trying times ahead. We are blessed to have such remarkable staff and talent at all levels. To our frontline employees, your work does not go unnoticed. Whether you're applying our streets, mowing lawns, enforcing our bylaws, taking a call from an upset resident, supervising a beach, taking care of our plans, or being a development officer or a member of our clerk's office, we thank you. You are the unsung heroes in HRM. To our fire and police, you put your lives on the line every single day. Your bravery and dedication is admirable. To my friends at City Hall, Boyd and Cortrea, our commissioners, always have a welcoming greeting. June, one of our custodians, I thought I saw him here. Every morning when I see him, hello, Councillor Steve. That makes my day. And Gloria quietly goes about her work and always has a smile. To the mayor and the CAO staff, Your accommodating nature and professionalism give our residents confidence and hope. They know that their voices will be heard and they will get assistance when they are seeking. To my colleagues in the Council Support Office, you make coming to work enjoyable. Your competence, professionalism, compassion is worthy of a Nobel Prize. Mel, Ken, Laura, Quentin, Nadine, Emily, Linda, Stephanie, Jennifer, Chris, and Liam. Our citizens are fortunate to have you on their side. To my campaign supporters and workers, you are second to none. Without you and your dedication, I wouldn't have had the success I've enjoyed. Gavin Giles, Mrs. Foley, Kevin and Trish, Joe and Lana, you've been there with me since the beginning and stuck with me through thick and thin. To my mom and dad, my wife Colleen, and kids Alana and Matt, thank you for supporting me through this amazing journey. There's no way I could have done it alone. And to the residents of District 11, I've done my very best to represent you, whether it be our streetscaping initiatives, water and sewer work, new fire stations and recreation centers, community and school signs, new playgrounds and fields or other projects. I've tried to make our lives better for all. To everyone with whom I've had the pleasure to work, serve, help, or simply be part of your life, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Steve Adams, first elected in 1991.
Wow.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Russell
My
Walker
pleasure.
was first elected in January of 1994 to the City of Halifax Council as an alderman and has been re-elected ever since, and he has decided that he is retiring. Councillor Walker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first of all, I'd like to thank the residents of District 10 for their support. And it has been almost 27 years, 8 elections, 3 acclamations. And on my time on council, I've had some long terms on some of my committees, 18 years on NSFM, president twice, 12 years on the Water Commission, 12 years FCM, 27 years on the Grants Committee. And I love FCM. And during my term on FCM, I dealt with the SARS Committee in Toronto, Mad Cow in Alberta, the gas tax, bringing it in Canada. I had the pleasure of 10 days in Guyana. And on my 12 years on FCM, I've had the pleasure of visiting 48 centers across this country, from coast to coast to coast. All my time on all my committees didn't come close to my time with the coaching the Clayton Park hockey team, which was for 41 years. And I'd like to say it's been my pleasure to serve the residents of HRM. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walker. And I will say again, we will miss you and your wise words, sparingly used, but effectively used all the time. And now for something completely different.
You should only speak when you have to, Mr. Mayor.
What's that, Councillor?
You should only speak when you have to.
Should go on a billboard. And it's interesting that we have Councillor Walker and Councillor Karsten speaking back to back. Anybody who's ever seen the two of them at an SCM meeting, it's a wonderful sight, two of them. Councillor Bill Karsten was elected in 2004 and re-elected ever since. And many of us call him Mr. President. He is the president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, a job he has held without stinting on his work as a councillor in the Halifax region. Councillor Karsten.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I didn't think I'd need a box of tissue beside me, so I don't have one, but some of the words are bringing up a lot of memories and certainly great experiences with my colleagues. Steve, Laura Lee, Russell, certainly enjoy your retirement. Hey, we'll have to join for lunch on Tuesday sometimes while the rest of them are at council. That'd be a novel idea. But thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to take this opportunity to say just a few thoughts and a few thank yous. Thank you first and foremost to all the residents in two different districts that have had the great fortune to represent. It's been an amazing, amazing and humbling privilege to share in this capacity for what will be 16 years at the end of this term. The bonus for me is having met so many wonderful people, of whom I'm pleased to call now many my friends. It's been an incredible journey, one that certainly could not have been possible without the support of my wife, Muriel Tupper, and my family. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the many council colleagues over these 16 years that I've had the privilege to work with. I may not have always agreed with you, however, make no mistake about it, as Russell would say, I've always respected you. And I certainly want to seize this moment to thank you, Mr. Mayor, to thank you for your leadership, to thank you for your passion and incredible vision for this great municipality. And thank you for your friendship, Mike. How could I possibly go further without, as Councillor Adams did so capably, without thanking the amazing staff we have and work with on a daily basis? Whether it's the dedication of our coordinators in our councillor's office, too many to mention, or our frontline workers or executive directors team, you are outstanding public servants. And I know that your CAO, Jacques Dubé, recognizes that on a daily basis. Jacques, I want to extend to you a thank you for your outstanding leadership, not only through COVID, but over the years prior, and that you continue to provide. District 3, my friends and colleagues, is simply a wonderful part of the municipality. And I'm so proud of the work that we have done together in the communities over these past 16 years. Whether it's the deep stormwater system on Cow Bay Road, Mr. Mayor, that you'll recall very vividly, that eliminated flooding to the latest, or to eliminated flooding, or to the latest beautiful new sidewalk and bridge project at the start of Shore Road, or the completion of the $1 million drive, Baker Drive Community Park. We have done a lot together. That takes me to where we are today. On October 17th, we have 5 candidates who've taken the bold step of putting their names forward for election in District 3. I encourage you, the residents, to vote. Use your democratic right and exercise that vote. And when everyone has decided on the candidate who will be your next councillor, I implore you to support that person. If the person you voted for doesn't win, please put that aside and unite behind your councillor. After all, we're all in this together to do one thing, and that is to continue to improve the quality of life for everyone in our communities. As well, please contact our call center 311 or your new councillor directly if you have a concern or question. Many of you know my feelings regarding posts to social media. It's a great tool for sharing news and events. However, it's not a place where business should be done, and it accomplishes little or nothing on getting the results that you need and having issues resolved. And in some cases, many cases, just seems to compound the matter. Whether it's at the municipal, provincial, or federal order of government, show respect for your elected representatives. They are, after all, regular people in our communities that, as I said earlier, are bold enough to put their names forward. In my 16 years of experience, I've learned that the largest majority are caring people who have nothing but the best interest of their residents at heart. As I've mentioned before, and it's been alluded to, nationally, I've had the distinct honor to serve on the board of directors of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. FCM, my friends, is an amazing organization which truly is the united voice for local government in Canada. My current role as president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities will be completed on October 15th. It has been so rewarding to be part of national efforts and see how groundbreaking results from successful advocacy to the federal government for municipalities' priorities such as infrastructure, transit funding, housing, rural broadband, and recently being a part of securing the funding for municipalities through the federal provincial Safe Restart program. This experience has been the thrill of my lifetime. And in many ways, Mike, you know the background. You have been instrumental. It encouraged me and motivating me to take on this role. What many of you may not know is that the late Jack Layton was actually the president of FCM in 2001 while a councillor in Toronto. And in his last words to the nation, in closing, I leave you these thoughts. My friends, love is better than anger. Hope is better than fear. Optimism is better than despair. So let us be loving, hopeful, and optimistic, and we'll change the world. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor President Bill Karsten. And Lauralee Nicol, who was elected to council in 2008, who I met when I was a fairly newly elected MP, and all the work that she was doing in Cole Harbour with things like the Harvest Festival and many other events that she was instrumental in. Became a councillor in 2008, of course, re-elected in 2012 and 16, and has decided to take her leave from municipal politics and will be greatly missed. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to say a few words and to my colleagues. Serving the residents of Cole Harbour, Westfall, Lake Loon, and Cherrybrook, and the whole of the municipality for the last 12 years has been an honor and a privilege. I'm leaving with both a sense of sadness and a sense of accomplishment. I'm proud of the work I've done representing and serving our municipality on council. I've worked with dedicated community groups in Cole Harbour, Westfall, Lake Loon, and Cherrybrook. Many of them I can call my friends. And with some equally dedicated HRM staff members to improve the quality of life throughout District 4 through such means as supporting youth and diversity, developing recreational and active transportation opportunities, improving our sense of community and especially pride of place, and generally responding to all residents' needs with respect, empathy, and fairness. Engaging as many residents as possible has been my philosophy throughout and has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Thank you to all who have helped me along the way, and I remind this council and my successor that much more work needs to be done to ensure all residents of our municipality are engaged and heard. Many residents have reached out to me with kind words since I announced my intention to not reoffer. I cannot thank you enough for your support. They mean a lot. I'm particularly appreciative of the number of women who let me know how much my voice needed to be heard and was heard, and how much it meant to them to hear a woman's narrative spoke on many subjects as I advocated on behalf of all women. I spent 12 years as a public figure trying so hard to be heard, but never realized until now how impactful this was to women who were listening. I want to acknowledge those who have stepped up to serve on Halifax's inaugural Women's Advisory Committee. They are in good hands with its newly appointed chair, Jane McKay-Nesbitt, and Vice Chair, Christine Ching. Last, but definitely not least, I'd like to thank my family for their unwavering support over the years as I followed my passion to make our little piece of the world a better place for all. And to my colleagues, I will miss all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. Well, colleagues, I think this is one time when I wish we were all together in the chambers where we could really sort of show the respect and affection that we have for our outgoing colleagues. That's not the case right now, but you know that that's being felt virtually. These four councillors between them have served, by my calculation, 83 years on council. So that's a tremendous amount of service and dedication. And we just appreciate very much what you've done for the municipality. It is a great pleasure to hear from folks who are leaving. There will be at least one of us that will not be back on council, that won't have that opportunity to address council. So it's nice to hear from those that are leaving and moving on to other things, and we wish you the very, very best. Thank you. We have no motions of precision, so I think we're going to move at this point, Phoebe, to the heritage hearings. Are we all set to move to those, Phoebe and or April?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
So these are virtual heritage hearings. The first one is to include 53 Queen Street, Dartmouth, in the Registry of Heritage Property for the Halifax Regional Municipality. I want to thank everybody for joining us today for this virtual heritage hearing. The order of events for this virtual hearing is similar to a regular heritage hearing. We will start with a staff presentation. Normally, the property owner would then have an opportunity to present via phone. In this case, the property owner is Canada Post. They have been notified of the hearing, but have not indicated that they wish to speak. As a reminder to council and those watching from home, at a heritage hearing, only the registered property owner can speak to or provide correspondence to council. So, 53 Queen Street, staff is, who do we have? Jesse, who do we have with us this morning?
Yes, that's right, Mr. Mayor. I'll be doing the 3 heritage hearings this morning.
Good morning, Jesse Morton. Thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just jumping right into things, since we do have a busy agenda today. The first is the heritage hearing for case 493. So this case stems from Regional Council motion earlier this year to examine the potential of including 53 Queen Street in Dartmouth into the Registry of Heritage Properties. Next slide, please. So these are the criteria that the Heritage Advisory Committee uses to score a registration request. This criteria will be the same for this application as well as the next 2 hearings. So the HSC scores the properties. If a property receives a score between 50 or 100 points, they can make a positive recommendation to Regional Council. Next slide, please. The slide shows the subject property outlined in red. It's located in downtown Dartmouth, just east of Ochterlony Street. It is a large site that has frontage on 3 streets, Wentworth, King, and Queen Street. Next slide, please. The Department of Public Works acquired several parcels of land in 1913 to house a new post office. The post office, which you can see here, was constructed between 1914 and 1916 at the corner of Wentworth and Queen Street. Next slide, please. The property's architectural importance comes from the building and its Baroque architectural style, which you can see through its balanced design and symmetry, also simple roof lines and decorative moldings. The building's importance is also heightened due to the relatively low supply of early 20th century civic buildings in Dartmouth, as well as there being very few sandstone buildings remaining throughout the municipality. Next slide, please. The building was designed by John Ewart, who was a nationally well-known architect. He worked with the Department of Public Works for many years, also serving as the chief architect of the department. During his tenure, he designed over 340 government buildings throughout Canada, including the Royal Canadian Mint building in Ottawa. He designed 2 buildings in Halifax, the second being the Halifax Customs House, which was in downtown Halifax, but was unfortunately demolished in 1960. Next slide, please. The Dartmouth Post Office, its interior is constructed of steel and brick. The exterior of the building is finished with sandstone bricks along with some granite detailing to really create a formal classical impression on the streetscape. It has many character-defining elements, in addition to the sandstone brick, of course. It has a 5-bay symmetrical facade. It has central prominent entryways with detailing above the doors, which you can see here in this image. The building also contains some decorative voussoirs, brackets, and string courses as well. Next slide, please. The building is relatively strong in terms of architectural integrity. Its original form is still evident on the property. There were 2 significant modifications to the property. There were several additions added, including the one on the left here from 1961, which is quite prominent along the Queen Street. The other thing you'll notice is that the original clock tower was removed in the 1970s, and this was due to structural concerns. Next slide, please. The property plays a very important part in Dartmouth's history. It's the site of the first Quaker meeting house and also Dartmouth's first public school. So the property today, it contains a landmark building, which plays a prominent role in the streetscape and has also served the community for over 100 years as an important civic institution. Last slide, please. So looking at this summary table here, you'll see that the HAC gave the property a score of 72 points, which is a very strong score. And as such, staff and the HAC are recommending that the property be added to the Registry of Heritage Property. Thank you very much, and staff are available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Jesse. I don't see any questions of clarification. We open the public hearing, the heritage hearing. Normally the property owner would speak, but Canada Post, as I indicated, have not indicated that they will be speaking. No questions, therefore. So we can ask for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Carson, seconded by Councillor Russell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? We close the public hearing. Councillor Austin, is this you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Halifax Regional Council approve the request to include 53 Queen Street, Dartmouth, as shown on map 1 of the staff report dated March 6, 2020, in the Registry of Heritage Properties for the Halifax Regional Municipality as a municipal heritage property.
Second, Councillor Mason.
I heard Councillor Mason second that. Councillor Austin, anything on it?
Yes, just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I'm delighted with this outcome. I mean, it's hard to imagine a more prominent building in downtown Dartmouth in terms of civic history than the post office. And with Canada Post about to dispose of the building because as postal needs have changed, it's just simply too big for their needs. With the building's sale likely coming, registering this building at this time sets a very clear expectation for whoever the new owner will be, that we want to retain the stone building as it is now. It's a big site. There's plenty of redevelopment opportunities. And so by registering this, we are setting a nice clear expectation of what we expect to happen here in the future. So I'm thoroughly in support of this. The one plug I put in for whoever that new owner is, we actually still have that original clock. It's in our collection up in Burnside. Whenever we look at this redevelopment down the line with whoever the new owner is, perhaps there'll be an opportunity to do something creative as a partnership there to bring that out of the warehouse and put it back where it belongs in downtown Dartmouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Ready for the question, colleagues?
Question?
Councillor Stretch?
Yeah, I like this. I'm for the motion.
Councillor Hensby?
Affirmative.
Councillor Karsten?
For the motion.
Councillor Nicol?
In favor of the motion.
Councillor Austin?
Wholeheartedly in favor.
Councillor Mancini,
For the motion.
Councillor Mason,
For the motion.
Councillor Smith,
For?
Councillor Cleary,
Yes.
Councillor Walker,
For.
Councillor Adams,
For.
Councillor Zarowski,
For the motion.
Councillor Whitman,
In favor of the motion?
Deputy Mayor Blackburn,
Voting yes on the motion.
Councillor Russell,
In favor?
Councillor Outfit,
Yes.
Mayor Savage.
For the motion, and I declare the motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Austin. We will move to the second case, which is case H000474, which is a request to include 1342 Roby Street in the Registry of Heritage Property for the HRM. We again start with a staff presentation, and then the property owner has an opportunity to speak. If they wish not to, that's fine. As a reminder to council and to those watching from home, only the registered property owner can speak or provide correspondence. So on Roby Street, is it Jesse again?
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a registration application, heritage number 474. And this request stems from an application by the property owner. Next slide, please. So this property is located in Halifax on the west-hand side of Roby Street, between University Avenue to the south and College Street to the north. This property contains a 2.5-story dwelling that is over 110 years old. Next slide, please. This subject property was created in the late 1800s when a larger estate land was broken into smaller lots and sold. The vacant property was purchased by Edmund Albert Smith in 1906. He was a prominent businessman here in Halifax, and the existing dwelling was constructed in that same year. Next slide, please. The dwelling's architectural importance stems from it being really an excellent example of the Queen Anne Revival style, which was popular at the turn of the 20th century. Queen Anne buildings and this building as well reflect Victorian principles. Victorian principles really strive for vibrant buildings that are full of rich, ornate detailing, which you can see on this property here. You'll also notice that 3 of the Queen Anne Revival's predominant traits are included, including the corner tower, the prominent bay windows, and then the front-facing gable above the bay window. Next slide, please. The dwelling is a timber frame structure, so it would be a late example of this construction technique, which sits on a red brick foundation. The staff note that the exterior design of the building would require some superior craftsmanship due to the amount of architectural features and detailing that's included on the outside of the property. Again, this dwelling really shows a lot of the character-defining elements that you would expect to see in a Queen Anne style dwelling. Of course, the corner tower with the conical shaped roof, an ornately detailed veranda, pedimented gable, and other details like stained glass windows. Next slide, please. The dwelling has a very high degree of architectural integrity. Its original form and character-defining elements have really been maintained, as you can see on these pictures here. The decorative front veranda at one point in time had been modified, but in recent years it was reinstated to its original form. So the only significant change to this property is a very small rear addition, which isn't viewable from the street. Next slide, please. In terms of the property's relationship to its surroundings, so the surrounding area it's defined by older detached dwellings that sit on large lots. Most of these dwellings share many construction features, architectural details, and were constructed right around the 20th century, turn of the 20th century. So the property itself helps illustrate Halifax's late Victorian residential character, and it's a very strong architectural asset that helps reinforce the neighborhood's character, which has been in place now for over 100 years. Next slide, please. So in closing, the HAC gave the property a score of 71 points. Again, this is a good score, and as such, the HAC and staff are making a positive recommendation on the request. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jesse Morton from our staff. Any questions of clarification? I will open the heritage hearing. I understand the property owner is here but doesn't wish to speak, but is happy to answer questions. Is that the case?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. We have the property owner with us if there's any questions from the members of Regional Council.
Okay. That property owner is Mia Rankin. We thank Mia for joining us, but does not wish to speak. I see no questions. Are there any questions? I just want to make sure, Mia, if you're with us, Mia, you're okay?
So I'll just ask Mia to press *6. You should hear a message from the system letting you know that you've been unmuted. And you can just clarify that you're here in the meeting. I do see you on our participant list.
Hello, it's
Hi.
Mr. Rankin here, just confirming that I'm here, and thank you for inviting me to this meeting.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rankin. There's no questions that I can see, so just thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll ask for a motion then to close the heritage hearing.
Move public hearing closed.
So moved.
Heritage hearing closed.
Councillor Mason, seconded by Councillor Russell. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? I hear none. Councillor Mason, is this?
It
this
is.
you?
It's my pleasure to put the motion on the floor that Halifax Regional Council approve the request to include 1342 Roby Street, Halifax, as shown on map 1 of the staff report dated May 1st, 2020, in the Registry of Heritage Properties for the Halifax Regional Municipality as a municipal heritage property. I so move.
Second, Councillor Cleary.
Seconded by Councillor Cleary. Councillor Mason, anything?
I want to thank Mia and her family for continuing to be invested and support heritage. I've known her for a long time, decades, and I know this is not their first rodeo in terms of a heritage property, and yet they continue to do it, which is impressive because it can be challenging, and I really thank them for that. And this property on Roby Street is certainly a gem, and I'm delighted to see it protected. It definitely is a critical part of the character of the neighborhood. So thank you very much for bringing this forward, and I ask for council support.
Thank you. Seeing no other voices wishing to be heard. Ready for the question, colleagues?
Question.
Councillor Stretch,
For the motion.
Councillor Hensby,
Affirmative.
Councillor Karsten,
For the motion.
Councillor Nicol,
In favor.
Councillor Austin,
In favor.
Councillor Mancini,
For the motion.
Councillor Mason,
For the motion.
Councillor Smith,
For.
Councillor Cleary,
Yes.
Councillor Walker,
For the motion.
Councillor Adams,
For.
Councillor Zarowski,
For the motion.
Councillor Whitman,
In favor of the motion.
Deputy Mayor Blackburn,
Voting yes on the motion.
Councillor Russell,
In favor?
Councillor Outlet,
Yes.
Mayor Savage,
For the motion, I declare the motion passed. Thank you, Councillor Mason, and thank you to Mia Rankin for joining us and for your ongoing dedication to heritage. We will move to 8.3, colleagues. Request to include 40 and 82 Tall Trees Lane, Halifax, in the Registry of Heritage Property. Again, I will say, we'll have a staff presentation. The property owner will have an opportunity to speak via telephone, and only the registered property owner can speak. So, Jesse, is it a triple header for you?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor. So last but not least, as you mentioned, we have Heritage Case 478, which is a request for 40 and 82 Tall Trees Lane. This application was put forward by the property owner, Janet Morris. Next slide, please. So the subject property, it's located on a small street, Tall Trees Lane, which is located between Bedford Highway and Hemlock Ravine Park. The property actually contains two different dwellings, but its heritage value is really connected to the principal dwelling shown here at 40 Tall Trees Lane. Next slide, please. The subject property, as we know it today, was created in 1870 when the Rockingham Estate, or also known as the Prince Lodge Estate, was subdivided into smaller lots and sold. The dwelling shown here at 40 Tall Trees was constructed in 1901. Next slide, please. The property's architectural importance stems from the dwelling because it is a noteworthy variant example of the shingle style architecture, which again was prominent at the turn of the 20th century. So this style is clearly conveyed through the wrapping of the building in wooden shingle siding, which extends from the foundation to the roof line. The style is also conveyed through its complex roof shape and enclosed veranda and kind of muted detailing that you'll see throughout the building. Its importance is heightened by the fact that it also incorporates some Queen Anne and Gothic Revival elements as well. Next slide, please. The property was designed by William Critchlow Harris, who was one of the prominent maritime architects around the 1900s. So Harris started his career working with David Stirling in Prince Edward Island, and the two became Dominion architects for federal work in PEI. At the later portion of his career, he relocated to Halifax to finish his career, and unfortunately, his life he passed away while he was still working. He designed many churches, dwellings, and commercial buildings throughout the Maritimes, including the Kaiser Building on Barrington Street in downtown Halifax, which is shown here on the slide. Next slide, please. So the building's architectural merit, it was constructed on a concrete foundation with some outward-facing stones to enhance its visual appeal. It's also an early example of wooden platform framing here in HRM. Again, its merit is partially derived from the blending of the shingle, Gothic, and Queen Anne architectural styles to give it a unique appearance. So in looking at the property as many character-defining elements, of course, its overall asymmetry, which is clearly evident, its dynamic roof with hip dormers and a conical dormer as well. On the rear portion of the building, it has a corner tower, and of course, the Gothic-inspired enclosed veranda is yet another character-defining element. Next slide, please. So the dwelling is situated on a portion of Sir John Wentworth, who is pictured here on the left, his Rockingham Lodge estate. The estate is probably more commonly known as the Prince Lodge estate, as the temporary use of it was granted to Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, when he was in Halifax commanding the British Army. So while the estate is long gone, the subject property is located between the Duke's Rotunda and the Hemlock Ravine Park. That helps provide an important reminder on the estate's historical presence in the Rockingham community. Next slide, please. So in closing, looking at the HAC scoring summary here, the property received a score of 62 points, which exceeds the minimum required for a positive recommendation. And with this in mind, both the HAC and staff are recommending that the property be registered. Thank you very much. And again, staff are available for any questions.
Okay, Jesse Morton, thank you very much, sir. And I see no questions of clarification, nobody in the chat line. So I will open the heritage hearing, and I now invite the property owner, Janet Morris, to provide their presentation. Janet, if you can hear us, plus press *6 to unmute your phone.
Hi, Janet. I see that you're on the line with us, but looks like you're still muted. If you could hit *6, and then you should hear a message that you are in the meeting. And we do have your PowerPoint presentation that will be displayed as you address council. Just let us know next slide to advance the slide.
Okay. Ms. Janet Morris, are you with us?
Hello,
Hi, is that Janet Morris?
speaking.
Mike Savage here and council. We're delighted that you've been able to join us. We have your presentation. Let us know as you'd like to advance it, and the floor is yours. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. I wish to say a few words of thanks to the people who have been involved with this property over the years and with the registration process. First, I would like to acknowledge and thank the researcher, Kasia Swaffer, whose report is included in the material. The intrepid Miss Swaffer, together with her partner, ventured up to the top of Tall Trees Lane one February morning after a snowstorm. The driveway was a glacier. I was out salting. Kasia and I, while she and I reviewed background information on the property, her partner salted the driveway. She had fallen on the way up. He fell while salting, and I fell hard while walking down the driveway with them. Anyway, it was quite the event. In her report, Kasia included pictures of from a 1904 Suburban magazine of the interior of the house next door, which is of the same vintage and designed by the same architect as number 40. Although the interiors are not part of the registration, I thought I would introduce some interior photos of the subject property to show how intact the interior remains. Slide number 1. Somebody there? Slide number 1.
Yep.
Oh, this is delayed. Is it there?
It is there, yeah.
Okay. So this slide shows the hand-turned woodwork in the living room area. And slide number 2 shows the wood arches that remain in place. Slide number 3 shows the exposed beams and wooden cove moldings. Slide number 4 shows the lead pane windows. You can see the center one is, you might be able to see the center one is in place, but the two to the either side were lost in the 1945 explosion on Magazine Hill. Slide number 5 shows the kitchen breakfast nook. We took down a false ceiling and found the wood cove molding together with the beams extend into this octagonal room. The main house was almost certainly designed by William Critchlow Harris. It did not make Robert Tuck's book, as many of Harris's papers were lost in a fire, and the two houses are in a secluded location, and Tuck didn't know about them, but he did authenticate them after the publication of his book, Gothic Dreams, which was first published in 1978. Harris designed many churches, and 2 church pews grace our inglenook, which, yeah, I see you have that now. So those are 2 pews on the side. The tiny house numbered 82 Tall Trees Lane, we believe is older than number 40. Have you got that slide? Slide 7? The house footprint is just over 400 square feet, plus a kitchen addition of a later vintage. The mystery about this house is why it was built in this location. It is almost inaccessible in winter unless the steep paved driveway is meticulously maintained. What was it like before the roadway was paved? The full background story concerning this house is yet to be revealed. I don't think you got my picture of 82. There it is, yeah. The owners of the property for 49 years were Waldo and Mildred Moyer, who acquired the property in 1922 and raised 2 daughters and their granddaughter, Jane, in the main house. Jane and her grandmother are pictured in the photo of the house taken in the early 50s, which is part of the materials. This photo was supplied by Jane, who has a deep interest in her family home and is in contact with us. The Moyers ultimately severed off the front part of their property and gave it to their surviving daughter, and the family actually moved down the hill into 23 Tall Trees Lane. Life is easier with less hill. They sold the property to the subject property to their tenants, who were then residing in the cabin at the top of the hill, Alice and Thomas Webster, and Alice sold it to us in 1997. The property was part of a 200-acre estate purchased by John Wentworth in 1786, about a decade after he lost his 6,000-acre estate in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, in the American Revolution. In New Hampshire, he had built an impressive Georgian mansion and created gardens and farmland from the woods at the base of the White Mountains. as well as roads to access the estate. He was very big on roads. Wentworth was certainly familiar with the principles of English landscape gardens, then in vogue in his ancestral home in England. A naturalistic departure from the French garden design epitomized at Versailles. Prince Edward is credited with the landscape gardens surrounding Wentworth's home. The music rotunda is a well-known surviving landscape feature. The woodland paths, once enhanced with a Chinese pagoda, ponds, and a grotto, remain. And I think that Wentworth probably deserves some credit for the layout of this landscape. The woodland paths were mapped in 1870 as part of the effort to sell the property. Sharon Ingalls, who together with her husband Wayne are excellent neighborhood historians, unearthed the 1870 map, and Sharon plotted the existing homes on the map. Evidence of the woodland paths remain on the ground, and much of Tall Trees Lane, right up to the cabinet number 82, incorporate parts of these paths. Slide 8, part of Tall Trees Lane incorporating the path on the 1870 map. Is that showing? Perhaps the legend that the path spelled Julie can be deciphered from this map. Anyway, these paths, together with the music rotunda and other landscape features which are remaining, are an important part of the only 18th century English landscape garden created in Canada. I want to thank the many tenants who have occupied one or other of the houses, enabling me to maintain this challenging property, among them April Stewart's parents. I want to thank the talented tradespeople who have helped with repairs over the years, and Hal Forbes, who designed and built my folly. There's a slide of that as well. Slide number 9. I want to thank Sharon Ingalls and the Rockingham Heritage Society for their research, and Sean Miner for the photos presented today. I want to thank the Heritage Advisory Committee and Heritage staff for their affirmation of the heritage value of these homes and property, and for their encouragement and leadership in heritage issues in the city. Lastly, a big acknowledgement and thanks to my late partner, James Wiltshire, for his devotion to and assistance in maintaining the property until last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Morris. That was very, very interesting.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions of clarification. So I will ask for a motion to close the heritage hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor
Second.
Walker,
Second.
second by Councillor Russell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So the heritage hearing is closed. Councillor Walker, is this you?
Yes, it is. The Halifax Regional Council approves the request to include 40 and 42 Tall Trees Lane, Halifax, as shown in map 1 of the staff report dated July 10th, 2020. In the registry of heritage property for Halifax Regional Municipality, this municipality heritage property is so moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
We all had trouble with the mute buttons, it seems.
Anything on it, Councillor Walker?
Yes, it is on a lane, and it is very unique, and the properties cannot be seen from the Bedford Highway, and they do border on the Hemlock Ravine, and it's almost in a place all of its own when you go up there, and very peaceful, and wildlife is everywhere.
Wow.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I support this, and I have a question for legal. I'm wondering, because Governor Wentworth was my great, maybe add a couple greats grandfather, is this a conflict of interest?
No. You've nothing to gain.
So I just wanted to this kind of, I know that I'm not actually serious legal, so you don't have to answer it. This is great, and I thought that'd be a fun fact for council, knowing that my family history does connect to Governor Sir John Wentworth. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. April Stewart as well has a connection here. All right, colleagues, ready for the question?
Question.
Question?
Councillor Stretch,
For the motion.
Councillor Hensby,
Affirmative.
I think I was asked, Mr. Mayor, for the motion. Can't very well hear
I
Phoebe.
think Phoebe is muted and we're hearing her through the mayor's mic.
Yeah.
She's not with me.
No.
Okay, having difficulty hearing you, Phoebe, but my response is yes for the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Karsten. Councillor Nicol, can you hear me?
I can hear you well. In favor, Phoebe.
Thank you. Councillor Austin?
In favor?
Councillor Mancini?
In favor of the motion.
Councillor Mason?
In favor.
Councillor Smith?
In favor?
Councillor Cleary?
Yes.
Councillor Walker?
Or
Councillor Adams?
For.
Councillor Zarowski?
For the motion.
Councillor Whitman?
In favor of the motion?
Deputy Mayor Blackburn?
Voting yes on the motion.
Councillor Russell?
In favor?
Councillor Outfit?
Voting yes, and now folks know where the district name Bedford Wentworth came from. I get that question a lot, so I wanted to say that. Thank you.
And Mayor Savage?
For the motion, that motion carries. And again, Jesse Morton, I want to thank you for carrying some of that load today, and I want to thank Janet Morris for her participation, and indeed all the folks who appeared today. Councillor Mason, did you wish to make an acknowledgement?
I know we're not doing, yes, please, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I know we're not doing community announcements, but I did just want to very briefly acknowledge that Sid and Joan Richdale of Etc. Press are closing at the end of October after 30 years of service in the community. And I actually had 3 different residents email me and ask that we acknowledge the support they've provided to community groups, to sports groups, to schools. The first cassette covers before I did CDs for my record label were printed at Etc. Press. While they are on Kempt Road, so they're actually, I think, in Councillor Cleary's area now, they were located at the corner of, or is that, which one of you guys, is it Lindell, Councillor Smith?
District 8.
District 8. So, but they were located at the corner of Quinpool and Vernon for just down the street from my house for the first 25 or so years. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank them for their community service and hope they enjoy their retirement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Mason, could you explain to Councillor Smith what a cassette cover is, please?
I'll make them a mixtape, I promise.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. We're not doing acknowledgements and announcements. If we were, I would have acknowledged 50 years of service to Kiwanis by Bob Bell that was celebrated last night, but we're not. I don't have that opportunity. We will move, folks, then to consideration of deferred business. These are items that we had on the agenda last week, and we will do some of these until we break at noon. Then we will come back with the appeal of the Design Review Committee, the appeal hearing. So, and we also have tomorrow booked out in our calendars if we need it. Item 7.1 under deferred business is proposed amendments to Administrative Order 53 respecting alcohol in municipally owned and operated facilities and at municipal events. Council, what is your wish?
I can put this on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move that the Halifax Regional Council adopt the amendments to Schedule A of Administrative Order 53, the Municipal Alcohol Policy, as set out in Attachment 1 of the staff report dated August 17, 2020, to add 1. The lower eastern portion of Leighton Dillman Park adjacent to the Community Oven, Dartmouth Ferry Terminal Park, and the South Common Triangle to the list of municipally owned, operated, and scheduled public spaces. And 2, Beaverbank, Kinsack number 1 and number 2, Eddie LeBlanc number 1 and number 2, Greeno, Mount Edward Road number 1, and Harold W. Conrad Memorial number 2 ball diamonds to the list of municipally owned, operated, and scheduled athletic fields, baseball diamonds, and facilities suitable for adult league tournament play. I so move.
Second, Councillor Austin.
Seconded by Councillor Austin. Deputy Mayor, anything on it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, this was just sort of at the request of community groups that were wanting to hold events in the HRM. I know in the case of Beaverbank Kinsack, they wanted their name added to the list so that they could have the seasonal beer garden that they have, and just the fact that the lot of land that's next to the community center is a school playground, so not suitable for that. But happy to have this on the agenda, and glad to see we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. On this, Councillor Karsten.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So I do have a question for staff in just a moment, but I just, Mr. Mayor, want to take a minute to give this council a little background in this. That in 2012, 2013, Councillor Laura Nickel, myself, Councillor Gloria McCluskey, and Councillor Jennifer Watts worked quite closely with Dr. Strang and Public Health to actually bring forward a municipal alcohol policy. This piece, Administrative Order 53, is a part of that work. And, you know, I'm going to have a question first and then a few more comments to staff if someone's there, Mr. Mayor. I would hope Maggie or someone.
Do we have Maggie or Denise?
So if there's anybody that can answer this question, if these are added to the list along with the other 36, and I'll emphasize 36, is there signage posted on those fields that there must still be a special permit gained for that special event? Or is it just put on the list and as been described to me in the past by folks using one of those fields for can alcohol be there at any time? Because I know it's happened. I'm not going to give you the specifics, but where someone just says, well, this field's on the approved list, so go at it. So I'm just asking, Mr. Mayor, if there's special signage that's posted.
Okay, I see Maggie McDonald is with us. Maggie?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to the councillor. Councillor, any group would be required to have a special occasions license from Alcohol and Gaming, so it isn't the case where that just because a site is on the list that groups would be able to bring alcohol at any time. So we would require them to be in touch with us and insurance requirements and so on. So there are requirements of groups that wish to serve alcohol.
Okay, so thank you for that, Maggie. Look, you know, I'm not going to vote for this, Mr. Mayor, just in principle, but I thought of different ways of doing this, and certainly one was to defer for the new council. And no, I'm not going to do that. We're all going to move ahead today and get these things done. But what I would ask, Mr. Mayor, is for the new council, one of you to please take up the challenge, if you will, meet with Public Health, and certainly even reach out to Dr. Strang if he's not too busy with COVID, and let's hope that's gone. But you know, the whole concept behind this and is to eliminate the normalization of alcohol. Okay, and certainly, you know, when this motion was passed by the council of the day, there were obviously none on the list. There's currently 36. We're adding another 12, I believe it is. I may be mistaken on that number. So why do we even have an administrative order governing where alcohol can be used in municipal properties? We ourselves, I believe, are normalizing it. It may be a special event, but the concern I would have is, as I described earlier, that in fact, there are those that would look at this, not that it makes it right, but to say, oh, I'm pretty sure this field's on a list somewhere.
I sent him a text a little while ago.
Pardon me?
Sorry.
Pardon?
He's not muted.
Oh, okay, I'll end it there, Mr. Mayor, anyway, but those are my concerns, and I'd ask council to really have a second look at the overall usage of alcohol in municipal facilities in the new council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Austin, on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm pleased to see the oven on the Common and Ferry Terminal Park added to the list. these are locations that have come my way in the past where people are looking to do events at these facilities and haven't been able to because they're not on the list. And we're not talking like massive beer gardens going on for days sort of thing. You're talking small scale sort of events. On Ferry Terminal Park in particular, I mean, there's a bit of a hazy line as to when you leave Alderney and enter Ferry Terminal Park that makes it a little bit confusing down there on that boardwalk area. So I'm very much in support of this. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Councillor Karsten, and I guess to some extent it comes down to a question of philosophy, right? I think we should encourage moderation. Really should be the standpoint in my mind. Because otherwise, I mean, if we want to take it to a far extreme, why do we as a city allow restaurants and bars to spill in and create patios? Isn't that normalizing drinking in our public spaces? I mean, it is a part of our society, and we have a fine line to manage, right? So personally, I don't support a prohibitionist sort of approach to things. I think these are two facilities where we have had requests, and I think it's reasonable to allow for special events to have things. And if it doesn't work, we can always repeal if it ended up being problems there. So that's my standpoint on this. I think what we have is reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell.
Thank you very much. I'm just curious about a few different things. One of them is one of the items on the list is correctional, and I just want to confirm that that is the Correctional Center ball field that is on Cobequid Road. It is simply listed in the list as correctional, and so I wasn't.
Maggie, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor, is that in the administrative order, I believe?
I'm looking at that actually in Schedule A. I don't see it anywhere else in the report or.
Through you, councillor, that's one that was already on the list for Schedule A. I believe that's correct, but I can confirm that with you directly.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you. I have been in touch with a number of residents about this and the Eddie LeBlanc ball field. A lot of people do enjoy something even though it might be unauthorized. One of the challenges with Eddie LeBlanc is it's at the bottom of a hill that you can't really take cars down to. There is no parking immediately there. You have to get there by going down a steep hill. I'm just wondering what the criteria was for adding the Eddie LeBlanc ball field to the list.
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor, the reason for adding that to the list was because of renovations there. It wasn't typically ball diamonds that are suitable for tournament play have been on the list, and so that is why we put it forward. Okay.
Thank you. Again, I've heard from a number of residents. Some are for this and some are opposed to this, and on balance, more people are in favor of this, so I will be voting in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zarowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. And I appreciate all perspectives, especially Councillor Karsten's, where the concern is for normalizing the consumption of alcohol, where we know that 10% of those who pick up their first beer will struggle with alcohol issues. And unfortunately, it has been shown, I mean, there's a long history of prohibition in alcohol that is shown not to be effective. And when we were speaking about smoking areas regarding the new cannabis laws and cigarette laws, prohibitions tend to leak out in places and in ways that we don't want them to. And so I will be supporting this because I believe that one of the things that we can learn from is other jurisdictions. And if you go to most Western European countries, the consumption of alcohol is quite normalized, and the alcohol abuse rates, if anything, are better in most countries than they are in those countries where the prohibitions exist. And so from a evidence-based decision-making standpoint, I support this. Do I want to normalize the consumption of alcohol for those who have the issues? No. I also think it's dangerous to poll those who want it and those who won't. With all due respect, Councillor Russell, it sort of leads us down a path of a billion flies can't be wrong. It's the kind of thing where we try to do the least amount of harm, and whatever the vested interests are out there sort of get lumped in everything. So I will support this. I do worry, as has been stated, that we are normalizing alcohol, but I think as adults, we are also able to take responsibility, and as Councillor Austin pointed out, we do have private properties which do spill out into public properties and do allow for the consumption. So I think if we can stay away from trying to legislate certain types of behavior, I think we'll be better off, so I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carsten, last word.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Had a problem getting my mic off now too. So thank you for the conversation. All I'm asking, Councillor, or councillors, for those of you that form new council, please consider having a lunch and learn or some form of session with Dr. Strang's group. That's really all I'm asking, because quite frankly, evidence-based, they are the ones that have a lot of experience in this, and you know what they're trying to do is just move the needle, if you will, on underage drinking as well, where the average child in this province has a drink of alcohol before 13, and quite frankly, it is being deemed by those that have a lot more knowledge than Councillor Nicol and I that worked on this, that the normalization of alcohol. In fact, Dr. Strang was deathly opposed to the concept of having liquor stores adjacent to Sobe stores, for example. Moms and dads buying their groceries and milk and then going getting the booze. It's just that whole concept of normalization. And I think as a municipality, we can still have a role to play in that. So I would respectfully suggest that if public health, those that are in the know on statistics were here, wow, there'd be a lot of eyes that would open and say, oh, really? Can this be a contributing factor? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you. And I wasn't going to say anything, but I share the concerns, as anyone who knows my personal background, and you know, it's close to my heart. But at the end of the day, it is HRM's property, and I just wondered who would be responsible to remind those to drink responsibly, and call 911 if they have any concerns like that. The messaging, I've promoted as much as possible myself to let people know that at the end of the day. So I just wondered, could that be done as part of going forward, or is that already done, or is it not HRM's responsibility, but you are the property owner?
Maggie, any thoughts on that?
Certainly through the booking process, any groups that propose to have alcohol would be required, for example, to have insurance. So we do have a control through that process. Anyone with concerns could certainly call 311 to ensure we can confirm that a group who is using alcohol has their license and has the appropriate insurance and those sort of things. Or obviously, if it's an emergency, then 911 would be the appropriate.
No. Well, there in itself lies the confusion. Drinking and driving is a criminal offense, and 911 is who is to be engaged, not go through 311. And that's why I want to speak to actually raise awareness of that.
Thank you. Okay, somebody has resisted the temptation, so it looks like that's all of the speakers. Anybody else? Thank you, Maggie. Ready for the question, colleagues?
Question.
Councillor Stretch,
For the motion.
Councillor Hensby,
Affirmative.
Councillor Carsten,
Against the motion.
Councillor Nicol,
In favor.
Councillor Austin,
In favor.
Councillor Mancini,
In favor of the motion.
Councillor Mason,
For the motion.
Councillor Smith, Councillor Smith, Councillor Cleary,
Yes.
Councillor Walker,
Or
Councillor Adams,
For.
Councillor Zarowski,
I can resist anything but temptation, and I am for the motion.
Councillor Whitman,
In favor of the motion?
Deputy Mayor Blackburn,
Voting yes on the motion.
Councillor Russell,
In favor?
Councillor Outfit,
Yes.
and Councillor Smith. And Mayor Savage.
For the motion,
I said for, sorry, my
For.
mute's not working.
Councillor Smith was for. That motion carries. Colleagues, will move to 7.2. This is a funding request, Develop Nova Scotia Public Art Proposal.
Oh,
Councillor,
I'll take that.
Councillor Mason to speak, but Councillor Mason to put it on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Halifax Regional Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to include the requested funding for the Develop Nova Scotia funding from Develop Nova Scotia for consideration as part of the municipality's 2021-2022 budget planning process, provided the municipality receives confirmation that the balance of funding required to purchase the artwork has been secured from other government funders and private fundraising. I so move.
Second, Councillor Cleary.
Thank you. I'll speak very briefly. I've struggled to find a way to say this and not sound, and to remain classy, as I have enjoined councillors to do for the last 8 years. But, if we get to budget and we still have requests for this and the art gallery coming to council, and we haven't heard from the province on transit, rapid transit, or the Friendship Center, or many other asks like the Turret Art Center, it becomes harder and harder for regional council. It's not a threat or quid pro quo. It's just becoming very difficult for us to continue to contribute to provincial projects while we're not seeing the reciprocal, or we're seeing projects that are even initiated by the province that are being slow rolled. So, I have concerns, not enough that I'm not going to support this, because I think it's a good project, and it certainly seems to fit our public art mandate. And I see Jamie McClellan's here to tell us all about that if we so wish. But I just wanted to flag publicly that I have concerns that we're being asked to contribute to a lot of stuff, and we're not seeing the reciprocal answers to requests that we've made or our partners are making. So I wanted to flag that for this council and for the incoming council. It's something we're going to have to be conscious of when we get to budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mancini?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want a clarification. So the motion on the floor today is just simply to add it to the budget. That doesn't necessarily mean it's approved. Is that accurate?
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor, that's correct. It's to add it into consideration for the budget. So council at the budget deliberations would have the opportunity to keep it in or remove it at that point.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Just want to make sure, I'm in favor of the project. However, come budget time, it's going to be a tough time. So just want to make sure we have that option to either support it at that time or opt out if we need to. So thank you. I will support the motion today.
Thank you. Councillor Cleary?
Thank you, Your Worship. So ditto to my two colleagues before me, but if you've ever seen Tresoldi's work, I mean, it's incredible. And if we could have a piece like this in a public space here in Halifax, that would be amazing, considering that we're only being asked to contribute 125,000. And so because it is, let's look at it for the budget, because then we'll obviously prioritize when we see where we are financially, but B, what the other pressures are, we can deal with it then. I do have just one thing I'd like to bring forward to staff, and that is, In the attachments, his name is spelled correctly, obviously, because that's information from other sources, but we should probably try to spell Eduardo's name correctly in the staff report. I think on page 2 and 3, it's spelled with a U, not an O. So anyway, just thought I'd point that out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Russell?
Thank you very much, and I've been having a look at this, and it looks great. I appreciate that that the ask is for $125,000. I'm wondering, do we need confirmation? Do we need to set direction that that is the limit of what will be included in the budget? I'm wondering if we need a motion to amend the recommendation to place $125,000 limit, or will that simply be done by staff?
Who wants that one? Maggie or John?
Through you, Mayor, unless
Go ahead, Megan.
My sense is that we wouldn't need the amount is in the staff report, and so that 125 is what we would bring forward for budget.
Okay, so there will be no opportunity beyond this for that amount to change once, or until, I guess, it hits budget and we decide whatever.
That's
okay.
correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Austin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify in terms of budget, would this show up as a pressure on a presentation? Is this a parking lot item, or would this be potentially built into the staff, to the default staff budget when it comes forward? I'm just wondering what our motion really directs in terms of where it then lands.
Not sure, Maggie, if that's for you, or I don't suppose Jane's with us, but Maggie, do you want to take a crack at that?
Certainly, and I think we would take direction from finance as we develop the budget, depending on what the process is this year, what the appropriate where the appropriate place is to include it for council's consideration.
Okay, so we don't quite know. I guess just mainly what I'm wondering was whether it would appear as a standout item or whether it would be built in.
I see John Traves has joined us. Always brings clarity.
The budget is the CAO's responsibility to bring forward, and it will be his decision as to where he places it in terms of recommending to council, and then council will decide.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, CAO.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to add to what John had just said, my intention at this point, should this motion pass, would be to have it in a parking lot for council consideration.
Okay, thank you for that, Jacques.
Okay. Councillor Nicol?
Just to that point, at the end of the day, this is asking council to make the commitment for this and to put it on a parking lot. Well, good luck to the future council, because a commitment is a commitment.
Right, but it will be determined by the budget committee. It will come to budget. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, ready? Anybody else? Ready for the question, colleagues?
Councillor Stretch?
For the motion.
Councillor Hensky?
Affirmative.
Councillor Karsten?
For the motion.
Councillor Nicol?
Always in favor of public art.
Councillor Austin?
In favor.
Councillor Mancini?
For the motion.
Councillor Mason?
For the motion.
Councillor Smith?
For.
Councillor Clary?
Yes.
Councillor Walker?
For.
Councillor Adams?
For.
Councillor Zarowski?
For the motion.
Councillor Whitman?
In favor of the motion.
Deputy Mayor Blackburn?
Voting yes on the motion.
Councillor Russell?
In favor?
Councillor Outgood? In favor. And Mayor Savage?
For the motion, so that motion carries. Thank you. We will move to proposed administrative order respecting incentive, bonus zoning, public benefits, and proposed administrative order respecting grants for affordable housing. Councillor Mason, is this?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Halifax Regional Council suspend the rules of procedure under Schedule 2, the Audit and Finance Standing Committee Terms of Reference of Administrative Order 1, the procedures of the Council Administrative Order, and 1, approve the creation of incentive and bonus zoning reserve based on the business case as set out in Attachment A of the staff report dated August 25th, 2020. 2, adopt Administrative Order 2020-007 ADM respecting incentive and bonus zoning public benefits as set out in Attachment B of the staff report dated August 25th, 2020. And 3, adopt Administrative Order 2020-008 ADM respecting grants for affordable housing as set out in Attachment C of the staff report dated August 25th, 2020. I so move.
Second by Councillor Smith. Councillor Mason.
Hallelujah. We've got a lot of great motions that address housing today that are a long time coming and are more desperately needed than ever. So I am so excited to have this as the first of several that we'll be discussing today. You know, the issue with incentive and bonus zoning and center plan has been one that has been very trying for a lot of residents. Residents have been concerned, and we're certainly hearing it during the election, why aren't you forcing the developers to build affordable units? Why are you taking money instead? And well, the answer is we don't really have the tools to do that. We may have voluntary contributions of affordable like we saw on Bedford Highway, but we don't have the enforcement provisions that are required to make this something that we can do right now without regulatory change or or inclusive zoning. So I wanted to acknowledge to everybody who's watching this that that's something I think council would support, but we don't have the tools to do it. What we can do is say you have to give us a bunch of money for affordable housing before you get a building permit. And that is what we're proposing for the business case for the bonus zoning reserve. I think it's important, and I know there's been some messages coming in about why only in the regional center. And I don't think it should. In the end, we need to have incentive and bonus zoning everywhere. We need to have it throughout. We need to have it in rural, and we need to have it in suburban. But the challenge is that we also have recognized that we want to try and make sure that, we said in 2018 in the affordable housing framework that we want to invest where there are vulnerable communities. And we have a number of vulnerable communities in the regional center, Dartmouth North, Halifax North, the area around Queen Green, Tobin, that's been an issue since the 80s, where we want to see additional affordable housing and transitional housing out of social housing toward market housing. And the center plan definitely calls for trying to keep the money that comes from a large project and try and invest it in the neighborhood where that project is happening. Otherwise, you're building the new buildings that are very high end over here, and you're telling everybody that's only for those people. We're going to build all the affordable housing somewhere else. Ultimately, we need to get this program throughout the rest of the region, but that's going to take bylaw simplification, the regional plan, and the donut plan to be done over the next 2 to 3 years. So I hope those things happen expeditiously, but I know it's a lot of work to get there. So overall, I'm very excited to see this happen. I think this is a huge step forward for the municipality, and I hope that council agrees and supports this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Mason. That segues quite well into the question that I had. But certainly the discussion about affordable housing has been going on for a long time, but certainly has been ramped up over the last 6 months or so with the vacancy rate, what it is, what it's at. I guess, to those watching or listening today, we have to make clear that we are doing what we can with to improve this situation. But as Councillor Mason says, we're limited to the number of tools we have in our toolbox. We can't do rent freeze. We can't maintain affordable housing. I mean, we used to do that, but it was taken from us. So, this is a good example of shifting and doing what we can to address the issues that we have before us. Looking at the report, I'm just a quick question for staff. At the top of page 4, it discusses should council decide to amend the regional plan and include this as part of it. I'm just wondering, the regional plan review is underway. Is this something that can be included as part of the review? And my next question, page 5, it talks about how this money can be used for parkland. And I'm wondering, is this money, can this be used to purchase parkland, or is it just to upgrade current stock? Thank you.
Okay, I got a number of names here. Who wants to take that from council? From staff, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Ben Sivak, Community Policy Program Manager with Planning and Development.
Ben Sivak, thank you.
Thank you. Through the Mayor to Councillor Blackburn, the effort it would take to enable the density bonusing throughout the municipality or outside a regional centre could involve the regional planning review, but really would have to be implemented at the community plan level. So writing the secondary municipal planning strategy. So while there's a relationship, of course, between the two, the regional plan could set the direction. It would ultimately have to be implemented through right in the land use bylaw and the community plan.
Okay, thank you. Folks, I neglected Councillor Mancini, who had signaled in advance he wished to speak to this. I'll go to Councillor Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate it. I have a question for staff, Jill or Ben, on this one. You know, this fund is for the construction of affordable housing that will give it to nonprofit groups to do so. We have a situation where we have nonprofit groups that are building affordable housing or want to build affordable housing. A good example is in Dartmouth, we have Affirmative Ventures that wanted to do that in the process of doing it. I've got a motion on later on today about waiving our municipal fees during the construction to help offset the cost. But the biggest fees that they face are Halifax water fees. Has there been any consideration of using our density bonusing fund to allow nonprofit groups like Affirmative Ventures to put that towards, if they were in the center, to go towards the Halifax water fees? Because on that project in Dartmouth, for example, it's the fees are $224,000 for Halifax water connection.
I can take this one through the mayor to the councillor. The way the affordable housing grant program would work is it didn't want to be too restrictive based on the types of fees that the grant could cover. So it could definitely be used to cover Halifax water fees, but it could be open to covering any fees that are part of construction.
Well, that's great news. I didn't realize that was the case, Jill. Thanks very much. I'll make sure that gets passed on. Appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was Jill McClellan. Thank you for joining us. Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very, very brief. Very excited to see this here. Not only because, you know, it's talking about the density bonuses, but the bonus zoning contributions that come from development can also be added to under the rules that I've read here by us. So we can at council say, we want to put extra money in there. And so we can get moving on affordable housing and accessible housing projects faster if we want to, if there's the will of council. And so this is exciting to see this being set up right now. I'm also, you know, I was torn at first when I was looking at that $20 million max balance that we could have in the reserve fund, because I thought, well, we'd like to save up the money, but I guess in a way it's probably unlikely we'd ever contribute, you know, $20 million to one single project. So it's also a way for us to hoard the money, that we're getting it out the door as fast as possible. So as that balance increases, we can really start contributing to projects. And you know, from the bonuses we'll be getting from the Willow Tree and the number of examples of projects that are now coming in under center plan and making contributions. Do we have any sense? I won't even bother to ask the question because I don't want to put you on the spot. But I mean, I know there's money going to be coming. If it's not already in the door, we've got money coming in the door right now that will be going into this. So I would love to see us in a few months or you know, sometime in mid 2021 to have some dough in here. We could actually start contributing to affordable and accessible housing projects in the municipality. So thank you to staff for bringing this forward and all the hard work that's gone into this. You know, people say, why aren't you guys doing stuff on affordable and accessible housing? Because it takes a really long time to work through the details of this. So I know how much work you guys have put into it. And thank you for having him here now. This is exciting news and will be even more exciting for residents over the coming years. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hensby.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I see this report as one small step, but not a large leap in regards to getting to affordable housing alternative solutions and help funding. My concern, though, and I think Councillor Mason alleviated some of my concerns about why is it just urban-centric center plant area only. I know that's where the water and sewer is, that's where the bonus density opportunities are right away because the development pressures and opportunities of land in the downtown core areas around the peninsula and inside the circumferential highway of Dartmouth. But what about beyond the center core? What about the suburban areas of Timberlea, Lakeside, Bedford, Cole Harbor, and then in the rural parts? There's other affordable housing opportunities we need as well to help fund. I don't see a mechanism within this report to do that yet. You know, they talk about perhaps down the road we can look at modifying it, but at what point can we ask that supplementary staff report in regards to how can we implement it in a broader base? I'm fine with it, getting it started, get it rolling, get it up and running, but I'm really concerned that this is very restrictive to a particular area and not inclusive for the entire municipality. Back in the day when they used to have the parkland dedication fee, a portion of that money would go to the direct district where the parkland, where the subdivisions were occurring, so that money was able to go back in the community. Now that's gone altogether to the general fund. I see this as a similar nature, is this is going to be a restrictive or a exclusive fund for a density bonus in a particular area. You know, the tax is going to be there and it's going to be spent there. It sounds like an area rate to me, but there should be an opportunity to expand this program. I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity to have a percentage of all development permits to go into the fund. I'm not sure if that's an opportunity to look at, but at what point do we go beyond the center plan area? And at what point do we ask for a supplementary report to expand the program? Could I ask some clarification on that, please?
We can go to the staff, but I think it's up to council to do that. Ben, or who wanted that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the councillor. I think Councillor Mason outlined fairly well. It is part of our work program to really consider the density bonusing outside the regional center as part of the plan and bylaw simplification program. So the regional plan review is underway right now. After the center plan, we're eager to get going and consolidate and simplify the suburban plans and the rural plans. And that's really the opportunity to introduce new bonus zoning requirements, because it needs to be in relation to where we're allowing development, where we decide, where ultimately council decides to put density as well. So it's very much in our work plan and something we're hoping to get to in the coming years.
Thank you. The sooner the better for Muscat Albert Harbor.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There might be some background noise or some construction happening outside my door. So as most colleagues have said, you know, this is a great day. So thank you, staff, and thank you all of the council colleagues who've been tooting this horn for years and years, and to get to this point today. So we've seen not only through this election, but past elections and even in between how important affordable housing and including that within our land use bylaws have been. And today is a day where we can really get going on that. So two questions that I have for this overall, I support it. I do have one concern that we might need to address today. I don't know. We'll see what other colleagues say. So one is regarding the opportunity of expanding this outside the regional center. So for clarification, I know that we got permission within the HRM charter to do to collect density bonusing within the center plan area. And did that also say that we could collect density bonusing within other areas, planning areas as well?
Thanks for the question. Through the mayor to Councillor Smith. The short answer is yes. So the HRM charter was recently amended to allow the density bonusing tool outside of the center plan area, and that was I don't remember how long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And in order to do that, you'd have to it's implemented through the land use bylaw. So it would take community plan and land use bylaw amendments to enable that to in other parts of the municipality.
So we got the permission, the time, obviously I can't remember the timeline either, but the timeline was we got the permission for the regional center or the center plan areas, and then later on we got the changes to be able to expand it outside of that. Is that how it worked?
Yes, through the mayor, that's correct.
Okay, cool. So thank you for that. So the other piece that I have a little concern about, and it's not because I don't think it will work, I just look at the approval process and how this works and actually getting the funds out there. So for me personally, I believe it should either go through the RCCC Regional Center Community Council for discussion around what is being looked at, or through grants, because this is a grant, and I think there should be some oversight in the public eye of where this money is going and how it's being used. And I know that there will be application process and have to be reviewed, and the CAO right now, it's in the administrative order that the CAO has final approval, which is fine. But me personally, I would rather see it go to a committee of council and to be able to look at the application and give that approval. But I do have concerns if that happened, how that would change the timelines. But we do it with grants, and it seems to work fine for nonprofits and other folks who look for tax relief. So I'm wondering if staff could comment on two things: whether or not that is something that could be done, it going through a committee of council, and also if that was to happen, would that change timelines, or maybe a supplementary report is needed in order to have that discussion? I'm not sure.
Through the mayor to the councillor, again, Jill McClellan with Planning and Development. It is something that we could add, is it go through a community council or go through the grants committee. That would be an added layer. The total impact that it would have on timeline, that's kind of hard to assess. It would depend on how frequently the committees or the community council is meeting, but it is something that could be considered and could be added.
So does somebody else want to comment?
Somebody else wanted to weigh in?
Okay, no, I thought I heard someone unmute, sorry. So I'll come back, and if anyone else has any comments related to that. If not, I want to approve this today and possibly ask for a supplementary report to look at this going to a committee. And I'm not exactly sure how that should look, and whether we should tag this along here today or for later discussion. But I would like to have some oversight in the sense of the public being able to see and understand what's coming to the city and how that money is being spent, and being able to find that information easily. So I'll come back if needed, and yeah, that's it for me.
Colleagues, I think we're going to take our lunch break right here because we have a pretty full and somewhat complicated agenda today. There's the noon gun. So I'll ask clerks to make sure we get Councillor Austin. Just a sec now. Are we still being?
Mr. Mayor, yes, you are still live.
Okay, so just ask the clerk's office to make sure Councillor Austin, Outfit, and Councillor Nicol have a chance to speak to this whenever we come back to this, and to give Councillor Smith a chance to look at his options as well. So we're coming back at 1 o'clock and we will go right into the DRC appeal hearing at 1 o'clock. Okay, colleagues?
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
How long are the appeal hearings expected to take? My concern is we are in the middle of a train of thought with this motion, and we are breaking that not just for lunch, but for the appeal hearings a little bit later. And so when we come back, it'll be quite a bit delayed before we get back to being in the same train of thought.
Yeah, I can't tell you how long they'll take. I'll see you at 1 o'clock, colleagues. Thank you.
Yep. Just a reminder to councillors and any members of the public that are tuned in that it will be a new meeting at 1 o'clock. So please go to your new meeting or the new link on the agenda page. Thank you.